We start with breaking news tonight. An alligator attack turns deadly. Thanks for watching. I'm John Brown.
Good evening. I'm Luann Sorrell. That attack happened while a woman was canoeing on Lake Kissimmee. That lake is right on the border of Polk and Osceola counties. FWC says the attack happened in a waterway known as Tiger Creek. And Fox 35's Kelsey Cairns is joining us live from there tonight. Kelsey, this is such a terrible update.
Good evening, John and Luann. Yeah, this is the update that no one wanted. This also marks the 28th deadly alligator attack since FWC started keeping track back in 1948. And in that same time, we've seen 487 more alligator bites. So Florida Fish and Wildlife confirmed they recovered that woman's body from this canal. Officials say she was rowing in her canoe along, and then that gator pulled her underwater. Emergency crews rushed to the scene just after 4 this evening. This woman was one of 2 people who were out on the waterway. And this isn't the first time this has happened within this state park and at Tiger Creek Canal. Back in March, a kayaker was bit on the elbow by an alligator. Local airboat captain Justin Kelly explains to me this lake is crawling with reptiles.
And that creek, the way the bank is right now, because the water's so low, you're even with a gator. It's dangerous. Even us as airboaters that are above level, it's still, we take a risk every time we go.
Now, FWC also confirmed to Fox 35 that if you do see an alligator, always keep your distance. Now, in the meantime, they have sent a nuisance gator trapper to the area to try and locate where that alligator is. But they're asking anyone, if you spot a nuisance gator, always call that FWC nuisance gator line that you see on your screen. That's 866 FWC Gator. And officials have not yet released that woman's name tonight. As soon as we get that information, we'll keep you up to date right here on Fox 35. For now, reporting in Polk County tonight, I'm Kelsey Cairns, Fox 35 News.
R.I.P. to this woman. What a way to go, to die, man. Ain't that crazy, too? A nuisance gator. You think it would get upgraded to a man-eating gator, a killer gator, but those numbers were kind of surprising to me since they started keeping track of this stuff since 1948. Only 28 deaths by gator. I think in Florida as a whole, or I'm not sure. I believe it was in Florida as a whole, but 487 bites. That is like staggering how many people have had encounters but lived as to DIE'd, you know what I mean? I lived in Florida for a while and I had this crazy fear of gators. I don't know where it came from, seeing things on TV or whatever, but I was like, man, I want to go nowhere near the gators where they're at. None of that. I had this horrible fear that, like, you know, like we'd be near the water, and being a father, you know what I mean? Like, can I keep my kids safe? What if there's a gator? It just scared the fuck out of me. Not to mention that horrible situation that happened around 2015 or 16 at Disney. Do y'all remember that one? Terrifyingly sad. There was a kid at a Disney resort where there was a beach and all that, and they have their own like man-made pond or lake or whatever that goes around a lot of the Disney properties, and a gator came right up out of there and snatched the kid up. And if I remember correctly, the father was tussling with the gator. I think people were trying to help him, but the gator got away with the kid. It was just heartbreaking-ish to see on the news. Then you see a situation like this, and it just shocks me as you hear the people saying, listen, this Lake Kissimmee, smack right in the middle of Polk and Osceola counties. You heard all the official people like, yo, this lake is swimming with gators. And, you know, this woman was just canoeing. Fuck that. I would never go in there, man. You know what I mean? I'm scared as is, but I guess people maybe who came up in Florida just are not scared like that. I've noticed that. I had a friend one point in time, or I guess we could say acquaintance, and we were at like a park that had a body of water surrounding it, and we were in the woods just kind of enjoying some brewskis, and he was like, man, look how beautiful this water is. I'm gonna bring the family here and we're gonna jump in and swim. I was like, what? And there was a rope on a tree that people would go in there, and there were gators in there. I don't know, like people in Florida just don't fear the gators, I guess. But I personally have noticed that it kind of all depends where you're at. I was at what I guess you would reference as like a gated community in like the Winter Garden area of Florida, I believe it was, or Winter Garden, Winter Haven, whatever one is right near Disney. And that pond that was in the front of the property had a gator, but this thing was, I think, a baby. It was very small. If a person approached it, it actually would retreat from the people. And there was also one near a trailer park that looked pretty damn big to me, but it would hide if it seen a person come by, you know what I mean? But out in this area, I guess each gator kind of has its own, I don't know, personality, like the way they are as far as being aggressive. I mean, I know they gotta eat, but the ones like this out in the wild, it's real habitat, a state park, they ain't playing around at all from the looks of it. And then something else that kind of blew my mind when I lived down in Florida with everything that happened with Hurricane Katrina, I guess some kind of reptile exhibit got destroyed, and some of those animals, one way or another, ended up migrating over to the Florida Everglades, where different reptiles bred with other, like we're talking about snakes, were breeding with other snakes, and there were these crazy hybrid breeds of snakes, and same things with gators. And I remember seeing something in the news in the area in Florida in which I lived. They were talking about this is the only spot that they've ever recorded where there were like Nile crocodiles that came all the way from the Nile River in Egypt or something like that, along with a particular kind of gator. And I think that they were talking about, they were fearing that those would breed together and have some kind of man-eating Lake Placid gator or something. I don't know. You guys remember this scary movie Lake Placid? It was like the first one I thought was all right, but then it just got, they overdid it or whatever. I don't know. It became kind of laughable, I think. Not on the level of a Sharknado, but it was not like a serious film as the series continued on, I believe. Comment if you watch those movies or if you've ever interacted with gators IRL. And in doing a bit of research for this video, I was shocked to see, you guys see some of the clips of this cat that ain't afraid of gators. That is just wild. I'm gonna have to do another video on that. Comment and let me know if you're interested in that. I guess I'll share the link below on this one, but RIP to this woman. Sad news. It's terrifying. And I wonder what will happen if they go and get this particular nuisance gator. I know Fish and Wildlife tries to monitor the wildlife. I don't know if they tag the gators or something like that, but how are they supposed to know which particular gator got this woman? Or are they going to try to snatch it up and, I don't know, will they relocate the gator? Will they body the gator and see if the woman is inside it or something? I don't know. It's just so morbid and creepy. And at the end of the day, this horrific fear in which I speak of, that I have of snakes, alligators, and stuff like that, it's like a lot of these animals, I don't believe necessarily mean human beings harm like that. You know, it's like we go out flucking with them and stepping on their turf, or put them in exhibits or zoos and stuff like that. And, you know, we're messing with Mother Nature, just like all this building and stuff like that mankind has done. It's like, what are you going to do? You know, we're destroying the earth. But, you know, this is really something to think about. Like, human beings should leave these animals alone at the end of the day. I hope no one else goes out there canoeing, but someone will do it, I guarantee. So there you have it. Just a very sad, tragic, unfortunate situation. But the gator's just being a gator. You know what I mean? Stay up out of there. It's sad too, because, you know, they said it snatched her up and pulled her underwater. I believe they do that death roll, where they just snatch the individual up, or animal, or whatever the prey is that it's latched onto, just kind of start whipping in circles downward and drowned the woman, you know. So unfortunately, like, I'm not trying to be just morbid. I don't know. This is always just a big fear of mine, but you like to think that someone wouldn't have suffered. But I don't know, it probably was quite a bit of suffering and just pure terror. Just horrific, you know. Oh, I'm going out canoeing. Boom, you ain't there no more. And then the individual that made it back is like, what can someone do when that's going on? Like, realistically, that's what always just scared me so much. Like, we are not meant to go out there flucking around on this animal's turf. You know what I mean? What do you do? Jump in and like pull the person out of the gator's clutches? Like, that ain't happening, right? But you gotta try. I don't know, man. That's like the situation, like I was saying, at Disney when that poor kid got snatched up on the beach. It was on land, you know, so the father was fighting or whatever. Too bad, like, the whole resort didn't come out and just help this guy fight off this gator, you know. But that's it. That's all I got on this one. Tap in, hit the comments, your thoughts about it all. If you've had encounters with gators, if you're a Floridian, your thoughts about alligators. You know, have you been scared, or is it just like, hey, that's a part of life from as long back as you can remember when you're in Florida, so it just kind of becomes of a thing you don't really think of, or what? You know, something else that scared the pluck out of me there, I don't even like mentioning, is them damn sinkholes. Sinkholes, gators, hurricanes. It's crazy out there. And then they talk about nuisance animals. There is like as many animals in Florida that are, what's the word? Oh, an invasive species that wasn't meant to be in Florida, the ecosystem naturally. There's like just as many or more invasive species as there is that are like native there. I believe. I could be off on that, but I recall something like that. And it's just, you know, it doesn't ever get cold there. So it's a whole different ball game when it comes to the insects, everything. Like, Florida is just a bit different, man. Sub up, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. We're gonna get to this cat that ain't afraid of no gator. Look for the link. Subscribe to the channel. Coffee. I'm out of here. Peace.